I think that as commercial as sync and everything has gotten, we've always seen the pendulum swing go really far and really wide and then come back again. So I think music will be important again, and it will be a driving force in the culture, but we've got to keep making it.
Welcome to the Female Entrepreneur Musician Podcast with Bree Noble. Bree is a musician, entrepreneur, speaker, and founder of Women of Substance Music Radio and Podcast. Bree's interviews with successful female musicians and industry pros are both inspirational and informational. She also answers your questions about the music business. Bree is on a mission to help you create great music, connect with your fans, and grow your business, and to truly become a female entrepreneur musician.
Hey, my name is Bree Noble, and you are listening to the Female Entrepreneur Musician Podcast, where we talk about making great music, connecting with your audience, and growing your business. And happy 2018. This is our first show of 2018, and I am just excited to be with you today and sharing this interview that I recorded just a little bit ago with my friend Rehya Stevens. I think you're going to learn so much from her. I think it's really cool to see an independent artist like Rehya making a living from music and doing this her entire life. Since she was like a teenager, she knew that music was her focus, it was her passion, and she made it happen. And I think you guys will really be inspired by this story and hopefully see a little bit of yourself in her journey and know that you are not alone in having this deep passion that drives you to do music. So here's a little bit of information about Rehya Stevens. Rehya Stevens grew up surrounded by the music industry. Her father toured with famous artists and, among other things, was an arranger for Disney's Mickey Mouse Club in the late 70s. Rehya always knew she wanted to be a professional musician and has been doing it as an independent artist for 17 years. She's a successful session and live singer and independent songwriter, but the most important thing to her is maintaining her integrity and sharpening her toolkit. Rehya truly believes that this is the absolute best time to be an independent female musician. So here's my inspiring interview with Rehya Stevens. So that's a little bit about Rehya Stevens. So Rehya, is there anything that you want to tell our listeners about you that's maybe a little bit unique or interesting, quirky, more personal that's not in your bio?
I love animals. I love nature and all things meaningful. And I guess where I am right now is that a career in music, I feel like, can be all consuming, especially as an independent artist, and it's really easy to feel overwhelmed. So I think it's important to live as a whole person and devote quality time to things that inspire and re-energize you, because you need that soil to make music that will inspire, re-energize, and move other people. And anyway, I do realize that I just sounded like somebody's mother, but I say it just as much for myself. I need a mom too. So yeah, I want to say that for the listeners, because I think independent artists, you're wearing so many hats. You've got this kind of soul bank account, and you've got to invest in that as well, so that you've got something to excavate. Because when when you're going to write, you're excavating your mind, really. So, and if all you're putting in is business and paperwork and all this stuff, there's nothing there when you need to write music that moves people.
Yeah, that's so true. And I'm not necessarily the best person of keeping that balance, but I know I need to do it, and I kind of build in. I think that becomes my exercise time, because I live in the woods. I go out and I walk for an hour, and that's kind of when I get that space, and I have to build it into my day, because I know that space won't happen naturally.
Yeah, I know.
But
isn't that true? It's like there's something about walking. It's like I think you get the energy moving, and I think it's such a body, mind, soul connection. But I'm the same way. I will get out in nature and walk, and the ideas come where they just, if I'm just kind of stuck in the house or, behind my desk doing a bunch of music oriented stuff that's not really uh, creative, it just, it doesn't seem to come.
I agree. I basically walking and the shower or bath are the places I've been the most inspired to write things.
Interesting.
Sometimes I like just build in a 30-minute bath into my
Yeah.
day and just lay there, and it just allows me to open up to that. So yeah, it's something we all have to try to work in somehow.
I The artist that I was into, and I was so um I I just, it was like songwriting was such a deep, deep, deep well of, wow, that how did, that's, I can do that. I can do that. And it took years before I started writing songs that I was proud of, but I enjoyed the process, even, in the steep learning curve years. Yeah, I was just compelled by it. Just
Mm.
so, so yeah, I did go to college. I went to, a community college, and then I came down to Los Angeles and went to the Musicians Institute. But yeah, I started off as an English lit major, and it didn't take long to just feel like, gosh, you know what? I'm not, there's no way that I'm not going to take music all the way. I've just got to, if I'm going to spend money on an education, I've got to go to music school. So, and yeah, I'm a bit of a book nerd, so I love to read, and I loved studying Chaucer and Shakespeare and all of that for a while. But
Oh, but so great for songwriting though. you know.
yeah, everything becomes, when you learn about, um, it's just so. I mean, everything becomes 3D because everything is symbolic in
Mhm.
literature, and so that changes your brain creatively. I mean, you really, you read things differently, you listen to people and conversations differently. It's all very psychological, and yeah, my favorite writers are deep writers that way. So
Mm.
I think it did help. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I definitely. My husband's a literature professor, so
Oh
I
my
definitely
goodness.
see that, that we have conversations about lyrics and stuff like that because it's so well related to poetry and the things that he studies.
Oh my gosh, you must have the most fascinating conversations. I want to be a fly on the wall at your
We
house.
used to until we had 2 kids that don't let us get a word in edgewise.
Oh my gosh, that reminds me of that Bill Cosby. Oh gosh, there's an old routine that he had where he was saying, I think I used to be smart, but I haven't heard myself finish a thought since I
Oh,
heard
yep.
it.
That's about right. So at this point, are you a full-time working musician? Are you kind of doing that on the side with other things, or do you have like other music related jobs like teaching and stuff like that that you make up your income with?
I'm a full-time musician. Yes, I don't have any income streams that are non-music related, but I do teach music lessons. And I've got some fantastic students. But yeah, everything is music. Everything is basically from music. A lot of live performing, and uh, and of course the income streams from publishing and writers and sync fees and things like that.
Yeah,
So
so let's talk about that. What I always like to ask people on the show, since it is like the entrepreneur musician, I just want to kind of get an idea of like percentage wise, your income. Is it, how much is from live shows, from like selling merch and CDs, online downloads, maybe
yeah.
licensing, all that stuff. Like you don't have to be like exactly accurate, but just kind of a general idea.
Well, it depends on what season I'm in.
Good point.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's mostly from live performance. That's kind of a steady thing uh, for me. And then other times, it's like I've got a few songs in my catalog that seem to do really well. And sometimes it's like they're getting licensed frequently, and then other times there's a dry spell, whatever, I've
Yep.
missed out on what's popular, and and I'm releasing a bunch of stuff that I really believe in, but that's just not working in sync. And so sometimes that is very small, and sometimes that's larger, but it just ebbs and flows. So I mean, I guess the good part about it is that it keeps, it keeps your chops up to. I think if you're recording and stuff, you should be performing, uh, so you can get a read from what people are liking and what people are moved by. Uh,
Yeah, I think that's so true. Sometimes if we like just focus on online, then we're kind of in this void where we don't have any feedback.
a little bit, and I think that it's easy to forget. My personal feeling is I feel like in some ways music has been a little bit displaced. I mean, you know the state of the music industry, but music is important. It's, even if it's not given the value monetarily or you know fanfare wise, it's important as a as an energy source in the world. And
Mm.
sometimes I'll do a show and I have fans that from 10 years ago just still, they contact me about a song that I didn't even record that I sang at a show 10 years ago, and they say, I just want to hear that song again. I just want to, that song helps me so much because
Mm.
one time I had and that's what we do it for. I mean, I think, of course, as an artist, you want to make a living doing what you're doing, but the pure altruism of making music, we all started, I think, deep down, not because we we wanted to make $1 million. I don't think anybody would stay in it because there's far easier ways to make $1 million. I think it's because you want to connect and you want to move people. So if you're making, I mean, for me anyway, and I'll just speak for myself, I think if you're making music that's maybe doing really great in sync, but you're not really moving anybody with it because it's way back there in the background, or nobody's really hearing it, or it's just kind of functional music. um I don't know, I think you've kind of missed the point. I mean, you're paying some bills,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that uh the world needs artists, artists that kind of create a space that's worthy of somebody's time and energy in their
Yeah.
day, improves their day. So that's really what I'm into, and I guess maybe it sounds a little bit, flowery or whatever, but I just feel like if I continue doing that, along with the education that I have on, everything that works in sync and all of that kind of stuff, that I'll feel just, um, at peace with my journey. I
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's true. Sometimes we can get caught up in writing for sync and
yeah.
trying to make it so commercial, and then we're not connecting with our own music.
Or yourself, and the thing is that over time, I mean, you kind of become what you do. It's like if you spend 3 years kind of on a sidestep, in anything, it can be a little bit tough to get back on track. So,
Mm.
I guess I want to say that just, oh my gosh, just keep the heart in it, keep the soul in it, talk about things that matter in music, because I think that as commercial as sync and everything has gotten, we've always seen the pendulum swing, go really far and really wide and then come back again. So I think music will be important again, and it will be a driving force in the culture, but we've got to keep making it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It's so true.
Yes.
So, what are your favorite kinds of places to perform? And, like maybe what's your favorite place in the LA area? And then just in general, like what are your favorite kind of venues to perform in? And do you actually book them yourself or do you have somebody help you?
Well, I usually book, you know, shows for myself. It's an artist. I mean, I work with an agency that books me for a lot of other gigs, like private parties and stuff like that. And that's fantastic. But I really love doing um, small theaters. I think there's an intimacy. I like to talk about the songs. I kind of feel like, you know, the heart of any live performance comes from the rapport with,
Mhm.
with the audience. And there's something about small theaters and smaller rooms with a real piano and stuff that really supports that well. Um, I mean, nightclubs where there's a lot of talking and stuff like that. That's a little bit. It can be awfully deflating.
Yes, absolutely. Nobody wants to be background music.
No, no. So yeah, believe it or not, I love the sound system at Genghis Cohen. I really,
Oh.
I love that sound system there. I always feel like it just is, they redid it not too long ago, and it sounds great there.
Mm.
But it's obviously very small there. Let's see where else. I mean, I performed in a lot of the great hotels and dinner rooms and all that kind of stuff around LA.
Mm.
But I guess one of my favorite places to perform was the Crest Theater in the Sacramento area.
Oh, I've never been there.
Oh my gosh, it's like heaven. The
Wow.
Crest Theater was fantastic. Yeah, any place that's kind of theatery and um,
Yeah,
see.
we have one in Fresno. You can come. The Tower Theater.
Oh
It's
yeah,
I saw the Waylon Jennings there and it was awesome.
did you?
I think it probably has maybe it's like 2 to 300.
That's great.
Yeah, it's a great size.
That's great. Yeah, I really love those. Don't you? Have you ever
Hmm.
played in the small theaters?
I'm trying to think. I don't know that I have, but I love the experience as an audience member.
I know. See, I'm always entertained by the audience. I feel like when I'm performing and singing, I'm like the audience is entertaining me in a way.
Mm.
And I really like the I don't know, just I like that they're in the comfy seats and that everybody's
Yes.
comfy, and I like that. Yeah, it's very inviting.
So out of all the, experiences you've had over the years, is there anything that really jumps out that's like mind blowing to you? Like, I can't even believe this happened to me. Like pinch me. Can this possibly be me that this is happening to?
Yes. Yes, and it's something that I carry with me all the time. Um, I must have been about 23 years old. I was making my first EP, and Steve Tyrell, who's a fabulous jazz artist. I don't know if you've ever seen like Father the Bride, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, he kind of is the soundtrack for that. But
Mm.
anyway, he was so generous, really kind, and he let me record my first EP at his studio free of charge. He
Oh,
knew
wow.
that I was a broke college student. So his only request was that I tune the piano before every session. So, I'd pay $80 and have the piano tuned, and, go record on the wee hours. I mean, sometime we'd go in at like 1 a.m. and be out at 5. But anyway, Steve was recording a song with Burt Bacharach
Mm.
in the studio, and it was for the Stuart Little soundtrack. The song was called "Walking Tall," and it was for the Stuart Little soundtrack. And I was slated to record when they were finished, but Steve and his engineer Woody Woodruff called up and said, "Hey, do you want to sneak in here and just kind of see how this goes? It might be really cool for you to see this." And of course, I was such a Carpenter's fan growing up, and I just, of course, I knew who Burt Bacharach was, and I was just trying to, play it cool. And I remember sitting there and listening to them record this song, and I just was, my energy must have been felt because I was sitting there listening. He's such a brilliant writer, and I was thinking, I have such a long way to go.
Mm.
I have a long way to go. And Woody, the engineer, put on one of the tracks from my EP and played it for Bert. And Bert could just tell I was just cringing.
Mm.
I just wanted to crawl under the desk or something like that. I mean, it's not that the song was terrible. It's just that here he was, a writer that I admired so much. And anyway, before he left the studio, Bert kind of pulled me aside and he said, "Listen, just find a 3-note motif, just 3 notes, and marry it with the right lyric. Just 3 notes though." And he said, and then you'll write your hit. And he left. And all of a sudden in my head, all I could hear was just, "Why do birds?"
Oh my gosh.
And I never forgot that. And I applied it ever since. I just, that was definitely like a divine intervention.
Wow. That's really, really cool.
Right. I just thought, oh my gosh, why weren't you here a year ago when I started writing this record?
You're like, I've already recorded this now. Now I want to scrap it and start all over.
I know exactly. Well, I was in music school, and I was going to school with a bunch of, really great musicians, and had these incredible teachers, and you know, there was a lot of fusion playing in the school. And it was a little busy. I was a little bit busy with the melodies, and I was experimenting musically, and kind of, it was a little bit derivative of my pop soul kind of roots. But yeah, so Burt Bacharach pulled everything into focus for me for the next 10 years.
Yeah, I think that's really helpful because I know when I was in school, like when you're having to study music theory and you're analyzing all this stuff and melodies, and you want to try to use everything in every song. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like
I
you try to
know.
overcomplicate things and just going back to that simplicity of how he was successful.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's something about, I think, when you're really studying, you're kind of trying to impress other musicians,
Yeah.
and that can be dangerous. So, as much as I do love jazz, and I appreciate all of it. I love Latin music. I love fusion. I love all of that stuff, and I love improv. So I get it. But I'm a pop person.
But it's kind of like when R&B artists like just like put in so many runs because they're just trying to prove that they're better than the next R&B artist or something. You know what I mean? You know how that happens. I was watching The Voice the other day and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this whole song is one long run." Like simplify. I can't even hear the melody anymore.
There's something about it, that, I mean, as a singer, I mean, I have so many friends who can sing circles around me.
Mm.
Who've been on all of those, but you can kind of miss the point a little bit.
Yep. Yep.
I mean, but hey, if you've got the gift, then absolutely flaunt it,
Oh, totally use it.
yeah, use it. And there's just something about singing. I mean, that's just, you just kind of, when you're playing with your voice and you're finding these different tones and you're finding these different things, it is so much fun to play. It's like playtime.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you don't forget about the story that you're singing. Think about the words as you're singing, because you will sing it differently. And if you're just thinking about singing, then probably the song might not connect in the same way as if you're thinking about the story.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree with that. So let me ask you, you've been doing this for quite a while.
Yeah,
Obviously, when you first started, there was no social media and all that stuff.
right.
How did you, move from like the way you engaged with fans originally to now? Like how did you incorporate social media and how do you like to engage with fans online and offline?
Oh, well, I still love performing live. I think that it's the most, the deepest way to connect. I would say that the fans that I've had for a long time are from fans that I've met at live shows, and who, remember this show or remember that show. But I have an email list. So I send thoughtful musings and updates and music. It's pretty personal. I mean, the stuff that I share, I think, is it's very thoughtful, and I think that my fans appreciate that. Online, though, I gotta say, I feel like it's a daily thing that I kind of have to work at. But I guess being real, speaking from the heart, is the most effective thing for me. If I overthink a post, it sounds too gimmicky,
Mm-hmm.
which is a total cringe factor. It's just like, sometimes I look back and I go, oh my gosh, what was I thinking? I think I'm learning that inspiring with substance. If you post something inspiring, have something to support it, like a story, an example. And I think for me, what works for me is having depth to support inspirational, encouraging phrases or sayings or photos. But being brave enough to really stick my neck out and get personal, because I think that's what opens up the hearts of other people. So some days I do a good job, and others I fail miserably. It depends on how well I've slept and what time of the month it is and all of that.
Oh yeah. Have you done any live streaming?
I have not done that yet, but I am planning to, actually, in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. But yeah, it's a little bit. Oh, it's just,
It
I
can be
just
a little intimidating. So is it just going to be like you're live streaming from a show, or are you going to, come on and tell a story and sing a song or something like that?
I think that I am going to sing a couple of Christmas songs that
Mm.
I've written. I'm in the middle of making a Christmas album right now.
Mm.
And so, yeah, my collaborator and I, John Kubis, are going to do a live stream and showcase a few of those songs and maybe take some requests. So,
Oh,
so that's going to be fun. And I'm looking forward to it. I think it's a good thing. Yeah.
that's very cool. So are you going to be able to release that song in 2017? I mean, that album, the Christmas album?
Probably not in 2017, but I am definitely releasing one single, if not one, then two, before the end of the year, and
Mm,
then we'll release the rest of it in 2018.
cool.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the single that you just released, that you're going to be gathering money for charity for the next year.
Yes.
So I want to know
Yes.
what made you decide to do that and why this charity?
Oh, well, okay. I'm so glad you asked because honestly, releasing a song for a good cause, I mean, I was excited about it before I did it, but as I started it, it's just like, it's ripping me out of bed every morning. I mean,
Mm.
it's really, really wonderful. I'm so excited about it. The new single is called Abracadabra, and obviously it's a song about magic. And I wrote it with my dear friend John Kubis, who some of you may have seen on Dancing with the Stars. He's fantastic. He does the orchestrations for the show and plays keys in the house band. Anyway, the song was inspired by the concept behind a Disney film called Magic Camp that's supposed to be in theaters in 2018.
Ooh.
And yeah, and John and I just kind of got on this magic jag after hearing about the film. And you know how it gets when you're co-writing. You just, conversations lead. You think you're going to be doing this one day, but you end up doing something else sometimes.
Right.
There's got to be some of that scattered creativity in there once in a while for, the purpose of spontaneity and keeping things fresh. And anyway, we just were talking about how awesome it would be to go to magic camp and learn how to hone supernatural powers. I mean, who wouldn't want to do that? Who wouldn't want to do that? I mean, if
I know my kids would.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, we just kind of got on this magic jag, and a few days later, after we had mused on the subject, it got my wheels turning enough. I sat down and started writing the song, and it just seemed like it belonged to kids.
Mm.
It belongs to kids. So, and I don't know, I think somewhere in there is this, my mom and my sister both work in the medical profession, and I've known about Make-A-Wish for years through proximity to the medical community. And Halloween was coming up, and I just, creatively just thought, oh my gosh, I thought it would be fantastic to release the song within the Halloween season for kids, benefiting kids. So it was just an inspired decision. And I suppose I feel like, because I feel like music has been a little displaced, I needed to give it a deeper purpose for myself.
Mm.
So yeah, and it was great. I mean, and talking to Make-A-Wish on a weekly basis, I mean, it's just, they're fantastic. I mean, it's just been one of the sweetest experiences. And yeah, creating all the content for that has been really cool. And seeing people donate, so generously, and, being able to send that money to them and know that it's making a difference, it's awesome.
That is awesome. Ugh, very
So
cool.
cool.
Very cool. Well, it has been so great to talk with you today. And I think you've really lent a lot of insights from all of your years of performing and, just being a creative person. So can you let our listeners let them know how they can find you online?
Yeah, absolutely. You can email me at mail@friendsofrehya.com. And my name is spelled REH as in Henry, YA. So that's mail@friendsofrehya.com. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and on my website at www.rehastevens.com. And Yeah, thank you, Bree. Thank you so much for having me. This has just been such a pleasure.
Oh, you are welcome. I mean, we've like kind of known each other
Yeah,
on the fringe for quite a while now, and I'm glad we finally got to talk.
me too. It's fantastic. And I love that you're a nature lover and write songs on long walks too. I thought I
Mm.
was the only oddball.
Oh no. Lots of oddballs in the music world, right?
Yeah, we're all right at home.
Well, thank you so much. Now go out and make great music, connect with your fans, and grow your business. Female Entrepreneur Musician has been brought to you by femusician.com and femalemusicianacademy.com. With editing by Jen Eads of 317 Sound Design and music by Stella Ronson.